since Jared Porter never even discussed this with the Mets, and the Mets had no idea about this, the moment this broke, it was going to be, curtains for Jared Porter, and literally by 7:30, it was curtains for Jared Porter, and rightfully so. So nobody's arguing with that. Then comes the news last night, as you just pointed out, that George Springer is going to go to the Toronto Blue Jays for 6 years, $150 million. Hey, look, man, my owner is supposed to be the richest guy in sports or richest guy in baseball. I expect that contract to be, signed by George Springer to come to the Mets. And I guess, we're still going to act a little bit like a team that is going to be smart with how they spend their money, especially if they're going to have to give Lindor a huge contract, which is what's going to happen, which is what all of us Met fans are going to want. But this is definitely a disappointment. It's kind of a gut punch, but there's Jackie Bradley Jr. still out there for center field.
That's who I want now. That's what I'm turning my attention to. And I understand that offensively he's going to leave a little bit to be desired, but defensively he's going to be great for you.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's one of the big things that Sandy Alderson wants to get done here. He wants to improve the defense. And that is, been screaming about it for, the last 3 or 4 years, that you got to learn how to play baseball. And if you go all the way back to the Kansas City Met, the Royal Met World Series, what did Kansas City do to the Mets? They made them throw the ball and catch the ball, and which, they were having all sorts of problems doing. And it's one of the reasons why, the Royals basically went through that team fundamentally as easy as they did. But I just think that this what they're doing is smart, and how they're trying to improve the team. Yes. But I thought we were a big market team, but big market teams also make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that George Springer would turn into a guy like this, but the last thing you want is a contract that's going to be hamstringing you, 5 years down the road, like a Jacoby Ellsbury contract may be doing to you, or how it did it to the Yankees. But I wanted that guy here. He would have been a tremendous leadoff hitter, a tremendous defender, and he would have been offense and defense. Jackie Bradley, as you said, is more defense than offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm disappointed today, and I thought it was going to happen. I'm actually very surprised that the Blue Jays went the extra mile, and they did get him with this market and everything that's going on with Major League Baseball teams. But I don't blame the Mets for not going crazy with the contract. He is 31 years old. The luxury tax is something that you do have to pay attention to. Even the richest teams in baseball pay attention to the luxury tax because it can be prohibitive. And by the way, there's still multiple holes on this team. So if I'm looking to build the best team, I don't want to use the remaining space up against the luxury tax for one player. I want to be able to go out and get another reliever. I want to get a center fielder. I want to be able to do a couple of different things with that remaining money.
Well, they've added 4 new players, and 4 new players are all going to play prominent roles. Obviously bringing Stroman back, and then getting Dom Smith to sign. Their team is essentially going to be significantly better than it was last year. I believe that, but I also know they're in an incredibly difficult situation in their own division. That's the problem. I mean, we got some of the best young baseball players reside in the NL East. That's a problem. Yeah. And it's nice to have Lindor now, because it gives us one of the best players in all of baseball on our team. You hope that these younger guys continue to grow. You hope that Pete Alonso grows. You hope that Michael Conforto continues to grow, and you hope that this year when they come back they're going to be better. And so I'm disappointed, because I really thought that Springer was headed to the Mets. But look, if the Blue Jays want to give him 6 years and the Mets don't, and for whatever reason these free agents want 6 years. I mean, LeMahieu had to have 6 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Remember we were talking about LeMahieu, and I'm saying, the Mets should just go 5-1-25 for him.
Right. Yeah, he ended up getting the 6-year from the Yankees.
90.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
but still,
less money, but he got 6 years. I don't know. I don't know what the reason for the 6-year number is right now.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, maybe I don't know. Probably because lower value of money year to year and just a longer contract.
Well, I know
and more
for
security.
LeMahieu initially, it's a lesser contract for the Yankees this year than it balloons into, and maybe that's one of the reasons why Brian Cashman ended up doing what he did. Right. But I don't know. This is. This one hurts a little bit, because I think we all had our hearts set on it.
I thought I was convinced that it was going to happen. Now, I hear your fears. I hear your anxiety. I hear some of the things you're saying about small market team, big market team. This wasn't supposed to happen. But let's think about how the Mets were actually in on George Springer. That never would have happened with the Wilpons. The Lindor trade never would have happened with the Wilpons.
Well, I mean, if they don't trade Lindor, they're going to bring in Springer. There's
you
no
would
question.
think, yeah.
There was no question about that. But they were able to acquire a guy that they have to look and say, okay, we're going to end up giving him $30 million a year.
Yeah,
we're going to end up giving
him
a
$300 million contract.
Right. We're going to end up if he plays. And Lindor said he does not want to discuss this during this. He wants either a deal now or he does not want to discuss it during the season.
I like that. No distractions.
But I think when you start discussing money of that magnitude, you'll discuss it anytime you want, or anytime somebody else who wants to give it to you wants to talk about it. But I don't know, man. It's just like I said, they've added 4 major players to their team. And that is a big offseason. It may not be the Padres offseason. We may have lost Springer, but from where I sit, I see a team that is significantly better than it was last year. I see that.
Oh, hands down. Now, I'd still like a super bullpen. I had my heart set on a super bullpen, especially when Ken Rosenthal said that the Mets were very close to signing Brad Hand, so I'd still like that to happen. I mean, an improvement at third base. I mean, J.D. Davis is an okay player, but I'd rather see him, be a bench guy and a utility guy as opposed to be the starting third baseman. I'd like to see that. Maybe even another starting pitcher that you could add to the mix. I don't know if you were doing any of that stuff if you brought in George Springer. So, yeah, there's still some stuff to do, and I still believe that the Mets are in a great position to do it in this particular offseason. But, yeah, this one stinks. I had seen him. I had seen all those artist renderings and photoshops of George Springer in the Mets uniforms, and I totally bought in.
Yes.
And the whole stuff about the top of the lineup, and now you got Lindor and Springer in the same lineup, and here we come, World Series. I was getting excited about it. But it doesn't mean that I still believe the Mets can build just as good of a team, if not a better team, without having George Springer on it, if they hit all the other pieces and the other holes that they have perfectly, and I got to hope that they will.
Well, you got to hope that they will. And you're talking about all these different images that seem to be floating out on the internet these days.
Yeah.
One of the interesting images I saw yesterday was, of course, Deshaun Watson in a New York Jet uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to think a little bit about, Deshaun's situation down in Houston and how he is trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, because he has not said that he wants to be traded. He has not said that. His friends are talking for him. He is liking things on Instagram. I mean, this is the new passive-aggressive way of today's athlete. Do things social media-wise without opening your mouth.
Yeah.
And let your social media actions speak for yourself, which is really, I mean, it's ridiculous, actually. But then I started to think about this week's championship games. And I wanted to go back, and I wanted to look at the hiring of Matt LaFleur and how people reacted to it 2 years ago when the Green Bay Packers did this. By the way, without the collaborative efforts of one Aaron Rodgers.
All right, so first I think that we need to remember Mike McCarthy getting fired. I mean, they trashed him at the end of that tenure there. That he had lost the locker room. He was mailing it in. It was feed up. He did not get enough out of Aaron Rodgers. So once they fired Mike McCarthy, it was like, okay, this is why they're doing it, and people seem to understand once they fired him. But then when they hired Matt LaFleur, what I remember was, this is going to piss Aaron Rodgers off. They didn't consult him. They're bringing in this young hot shot. Does Aaron Rodgers want to run this guy's offense? This isn't going to work. All you did was just piss off your most important player. Like, that was the stuff that was around it. Then, this last offseason, they draft Jordan Love.
Yeah, you mean they didn't sit down with Aaron Rodgers and say, who do you think we should draft?
Right. Oh, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to like this. Did they run this by Aaron Rodgers? They know how long he's going to play. Are they going to trade him at the end of the year? I mean, those were two moves there. The Jordan Love pick and the Matt LaFleur hiring, and the Matt LaFleur hiring being more important to this conversation, where people said, Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed. Well, right now, Aaron Rodgers is one game away, being favored at home, going to the Super Bowl this year.
I look back at some of the commentary from some of the leading media talking heads.
The usual analysis.
The usual analysis. Matt LaFleur lacks the gravitas. Did you say gravitas yesterday?
I like the word gravitas. Yes.
So Matt LaFleur lacked the gravitas to handle Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
This is a flat hiring by the Green Bay Packers.
Flat.
This is not going to excite Aaron. I mean, everybody's speaking for Aaron Rodgers. The point that I'm trying to make is that in the NFL, these players are not the NBA players. The NBA players, it's a small group of players. It's a small group of players that are on a team. And there's about a handful of guys that are at a different level than everybody else. And they control the entire league. And they tell the owners what they want to do, where they want to go, when they want to leave a particular city, where they want to go out to, how many private jets can we take to get to Vegas. I mean, this is what goes on in the NBA. Some of the NFL players are trying to become that in the NFL. And I think you can't allow that to happen if you are an organization. So what the Green Bay Packers did is they basically showed their Hall of Fame quarterback to be, their all-world quarterback, that, you know what, it's over. We're handling it the way we're going to handle it. And you know who else is going through that right now, I believe, is the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger. They're basically going to try to tell him, look, this is the way we're going to do things. This is what's going to happen on offense. And if you don't like it, you're not going to play here. So, they could do that because he's towards the end of his career. But this thing in Green Bay is really shows you how when people who are in the know what they're doing, and I think in this case it's Mark Murphy, the president of the Green Bay Packers, who brought that brought Matt LaFleur to Green Bay. This is the way it's supposed to be run. The player doesn't tell the team what to do. The team does what it's supposed to do when it hires the people that it believes in. And I just think that, Deshaun Watson, whatever game he's playing with the Houston Texans right now, Nick Caserio is not going to be bullied into making a trade if he doesn't want to make a trade.
Yeah, there was a couple things yesterday that bothered me about this Deshaun Watson thing. One of them that I'm not going to say because I'm not going to share that information just yet. But, I don't know. I'm souring on the way that he's handling this. I had defended him.
Yes, you did.
I said that I think he's a really good guy. He's a great player. And I think that this Texans organization is a mess, and I'm on his side. And a lot of that still holds true in the fact that I think the Texans organization is a mess. However, there's some other things that I don't like about it. Now, I still want the Jets to get Deshaun Watson if the deal is right. And I'd like to see the Jets then go and sign, say, Allen Robinson to come be there with Deshaun Watson, who you want to talk about Twitter likes and Instagram likes, liked a Good Morning Football trade proposal that had Deshaun Watson going to the Jets, and they put it up there and posted it, and he liked that.
Yeah, so this is what happens. The media basically runs with a story, a narrative, and then these guys all react to it on social media, and This is where now we have to speculate about what the future holds. I think if you're Joe Douglas, you always make a call because that's your job description. That's what you do. That's how he explained what went on with Jamal Adams. Why wouldn't you take a call, or why wouldn't you make a call? I mean, you're always trying to improve your team, and given the fact that maybe you have a disgruntled player down there in Houston wants out, so maybe you go after him. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. But, the thing that bothers me the most is what's going on in Houston and how Deshaun Watson is playing this game with this franchise. And who's to say that he won't do it with the next franchise?
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is that I believe, reading everything out of Houston, that Nick Caserio is the guy that's fully in charge of all the football. He's fully in charge of the draft picks. He's fully in charge of the contracts. He's a fully empowered general manager who's not going to be neutered by the owner or by the owner's assistant, Jack Easterby. Whatever Jack Easterby's role down there is not what Nick Caserio's role is. Nick Caserio is the unfettered GM of the Houston Texans and is making all the decisions.
Now, he's probably not going to want to trade Deshaun Watson.
No, that's the point. He's not going to want. He's going to, hey, look, our fan base loves the guy. My job is to build the team around him so he doesn't have to be Superman every week, that if he has an off week, we can still win and we can support him like they had prior to that when they had a good defense. When their defense was really good, they made the playoffs 4 straight years.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that, they couldn't find a general manager, and they gave that responsibility to Bill O'Brien, and Bill O'Brien made some really controversial decisions. He traded DeAndre Hopkins, but people don't realize that, like, he's sitting there, he's talking to DeAndre Hopkins' agent, and DeAndre Hopkins' agent said, we want an extension. And at the same time, he's got Deshaun Watson's agent saying, we want an extension.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can't pay everybody is the point, and you got to watch the top end of your salary structure in this salary cap era now, where the cap is probably going to go down, and they're saying that it could go down as far as to $180 million. I've been saying $185 million for the last 3 to 4 months. Now all of a sudden comes word that it may go down to $180 million. So when you get your top 5 or 6 players, you got to stay within 20% of the total salary cap for
and that's
players.
why the Jets are in a perfect situation. And Joe Douglas sort of saw ahead with that. The Texans are in a not-so-good situation with that particular cap number coming down. So I think that Deshaun Watson, if he chooses to, will get himself out of there because it works for everybody. It does. I can't find one guy it hasn't worked for when they really force the issue that they end up in the place that they want to end up in.
So how about, let's just do a hypothetical. Joe Douglas calls Nick Caserio, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, Nick Caserio came from New England, and Nick Caserio can't worry about how it affects New England. Only worry how it affects the organization that's paying him $30 million to do his job.
Right.
So Joe Douglas calls him up and says, we'd like to make a trade, and they come to agreement. And then they talk to Deshaun Watson's agent. They say, okay, we're going to bring you to New York. Does Deshaun Watson's agent say, well, you're going to bring me to New York, but you're going to give me $50 million signing bonus, and you're going to extend me 2 more years? I mean, there's also that part of it. Is Deshaun Watson willing to move on from his contract that he signed in Houston to now signing coming here to New York in under totally different financial situations?
Right. That's going to be a big hurdle, but it seems like he desperately wants out of Houston. And in order to do that, he's going to have to take something less than ideal on the other end and hope that it works out a little bit. Because right now, in this climate, what's going on, teams, money, cap, everything else, you're not going to get the absolutely perfect situation. The Jets may be the best situation that he could find himself in, so he has to consider that if he desperately wants to get out of there.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.